going to be, this is significant of all the hurricanes coming together at one point in cyberspace. So in addition to going to that website, people are going to have to start looking at, should I put credit freezes on all my credit reports? They need to start being very
Would you
careful
do that,
about watching.
sir?
Yeah,
if you're on the affected list, you should freeze your credit with everybody?
Absolutely.
Okay, what's that cost and how do you do it?
Actually, if you go to the site that the Experian has put out, Equifax, has put out, they'll show you how to go through, and the FTC and everybody shows you how to do your credit freezes. Go to those sites. Usually it's about $10, to put the freeze on, but I would do that instantly right now for at least the next 60 days, just to let this thing play out.
So wait a second. You're talking about the next 60 days. This has already been out there for more than 30 days. So is it too late at this point?
It may or may not be. A lot of times when this happens, and this is actually a very good question. We've seen a lot of data be held for 4 years. This stuff doesn't go away. Your name, your social security number, your date of birth doesn't really expire. So this is great. This is great data. That's going to be valuable.
This company is offering you insurance for the next year. Is that sufficient?
No, that's not. I mean, that is just using an eyedropper to put out a forest fire. That is not going to be sufficient enough. I mean, you're talking. Remember, when the LinkedIn data breach happened, they used passwords 4 years later, including Mark Zuckerberg, to compromise his account. So this data is. I mean, it's going to be out there for. It has
so news you can use. Let's continue on. What other things if you're a viewer right now, concerned about your own security, what should you be doing? Online security.
Yeah, basically, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about right now concerns identity theft, but you should be looking at, is there any information in there that could be used to compromise your account, things that would indicate what your passwords are. Make sure you've got good, healthy systems set up for how to change your passwords. Make sure you've got, in addition to what they have, I've got my own identity theft protection. I just don't trust what they give me because all they do is the bare bones.
Hold on, when you say you have your own identity protection, through who? You don't necessarily have to tell us the company you're using, but who should we be using? What should we be doing?
Oh, look, anything is better than nothing. I use a company called ID Shield because one of the things they have is there's also some actual investigators. If anything happens, you actually have real investigators go out and do it. But you need something. You need something that's better than nothing. This is one of those things. This is hard to find out how this is going to play out because we don't know who the actors is. We've seen North Korea be behind WannaCry and the ransomware attacks. Is it possible it's them? Is it a state actor? Or is it organized crime? That's going to make a big difference on how your data is used. People don't know how it's going to be used, but you've got to do some basic protections. And the biggest thing right now is monitor. And like you were saying, Becky, is that it's not just the next 60 days, but you need to put a credit freeze at least for the next 60 days. If this information is going to be used right away, at least you want to protect against that.
Hey,
but
Morgan,
look, there is no good answer to this.
Real quick on Equifax, the company itself, we're talking about the stock. Are they a victim in this case? Or should we be thinking about them differently? And the reason I ask is there's a number of reports that suggest that they have had a number of hack attacks before this, and that they had been told that their security was not nearly strong enough.
Look, I testified before Congress on healthcare.gov back in November 2013. In fact, your program was the first one I was on after that testimony. Even then, I said we should have this cyber equivalent of Sarbanes-Oxley for protecting our systems to say you need now to have chief executives that sign off every year saying that we've taken these kind of steps to protect this data. The fact that this data was so close to the internet that it was on a web, you could get through it through a web server, to me, that alone goes back to exactly what you were saying, that is just bad management, that's bad practice, and if you did the equivalent from a financial standpoint, you'd be going to jail.
What kind of regulation is around these companies now? I mean, these three companies have more information than just about anybody else in the world.
They hold everything. They hold the keys to the kingdom. Look, there's not enough. In fact, this goes back to the point of they had this information for at least 6 weeks, if not longer. Like I said, some of the reports are some of the execs sold stock.
Right. Do you believe that, by the way? Is it possible that these individuals did not know about this? That this could have...
If they didn't know about it, that's a failure of leadership, too. Why wouldn't your key executives like that know about a data breach? Everybody at the executive level, at those levels, should have known about this. So I don't, first of all, being a former cop, I don't believe in coincidence. So I think that there's a there, and I think the FBI needs to look into it. And, this is one of those things that it's going to get worse for these guys before it gets better, not just because of the data breach, but because of the actions of the executive, because of the lack of follow-through, like you were saying on these reports, that their security was bad. And why, for heaven's sakes, was 143 million people's data so close to the internet that all you had to do was exploit a web application? That's like walking into the bank and finding out all the cash is not in the vault, but it's sitting out on the tables in front. That's just bad.
Okay, final question. I've been reading about this web application. What was that? And are other companies using the similar web applications?
I don't know. I actually was doing that research right before I get on. I went to look to see what it was. They haven't really said it yet, and they probably won't because they're continuing the application, but it looks like it was probably one of their applications that allowed people to interface with their site to pull things like credit reports or do their credit check or, have other people inquire upon that. It could be third-party access to. As we found out with Target, the problem was third-party access. Third parties are security holes.
Right.
It may turn out that a third party here may be behind this.